So I have a confession to make. I have been a subscriber of Seamwork since the very beginning. I mean, that's years now. I'm not sure the exact date. I have sewn one Seamwork pattern. It is, I don't know, it's just like, it's $6 a month, and so I don't really notice it coming out of my account. And like, I'll check the patterns occasionally, but I just don't sew them. And it's not that they're bad patterns. I mean, I really like Colette and I really like the look of Seamwork. I sewed the swimsuit bottom that they had, and I don't remember the name of it. I sewed the swimwear bottom, and that's literally the only thing that I have sewn that is a Seamwork pattern. So I wanted to kind of delve into my stash. I'm kind of trying to save some money right now anyway, so I don't want to buy anything new if I can help it. And so I'm gonna sew the Seamwork Dani in the Joann's linen look fabric. Now, when I originally started using the linen look fabric, I assumed it was like linen and polyester, but it's actually linen and rayon, which I think is a really nice kind of texture. It doesn't wrinkle quite as much as real linen, and I don't know, it wears a little bit better. I made the York pinafore out of this too. I just think it's a really good, like, stable fabric that I love working with, so that's what I'm gonna make the pinafore out of. Also, since I've made the York pinafore, I've discovered that I really enjoy wearing pinafores, because I can wear, like, this is one of my favorite sweaters. I didn't make it, I bought it. I don't know, I'm not a knitter, and I don't love the way most of my sewn sweaters have turned out of knit fabric, so I buy a lot of sweaters. This is my favorite chunky sweater. I love it. I don't think it would necessarily go with the orange that I picked for my other pinafore, so I'm just gonna stick to black, be super basic. It'll get me through this terrible polar vortex. I cannot handle this weather. It is negative 22 degrees outside. My poor animals are miserable. My dog just wants to go outside, but it's way too cold. So I need layering pieces, and I need them now. But yeah, let's go ahead and we'll start by fitting it, and I'll show you my muslin and, you know, the changes that I made to it. I will also say, since this pattern is fully lined, if you think you're, you know, gonna fit, and I think I will fit, while I am kind of in between straight sizes and plus sizes, Colette has definitely one of the larger size ranges for an indie pattern, and she uses 2 separate blocks. So I'm pretty confident that the size that I'm cutting out will work with my body, and just from previous experience with Colette. So I'm just going to cut straight into my lining fabric, and I'm going to fit my lining first. I have enough fabric that if I need to cut it out again, I can, but I think that if you are fairly certain that it will fit, that there's nothing wrong with fitting your lining first, especially if you're using a quilting cotton like I am, because again, not trying to buy more fabric until I work out my stash situation.
All right, so since we're fitting the lining first, let's cut out the lining and kind of, you know, assemble it to the point in which we can fit it. I'm using a quilting cotton just because that's what I had on hand, and I'm trying to work through my stash and trying not to spend a ton of money right now, so probably not the most ideal fabric to work with, but at the same time, I mean, it's what I have. I don't know about this. Don't love where that's hitting. Maybe I need to bring this up a little bit. It's awful short. My butt cheek's like right there. So basically what I did is I cut out the lining pieces and stitched everything together that I knew was gonna have to be stitched together for the final, and then I basted stuff that I would have to take out. I might need to make this shorter and then lengthen the bottom a little bit. I'd like it to hit right above my knee, and we're pretty far away from that. Also, but if I move this waistline up, the back might fit better too. Do I only need to take room out in the front? Oh, I guess that's straight. It's just at my widest point, so it looks like crap. I think I want the waistline right about here. So if I'm taking that much off, I need to add that much to the skirt pieces, plus some. I mean, I like the neckline a lot. It just, do I need a bigger pinch more out maybe? No, it's supposed to be not fitted. It just looks bad because this is a lining fabric and it's a little bit more drapey. So yeah, so you can kind of see that's where I think my waist should go for this, and this is where it is. So that's 2-3 inches, but you know, we'll get there. The best part is I can save this pattern piece and maybe even just add some onto the bottom of this, but we'll see. Now, as you can guys tell, I totally got dressed up to do my YouTube filming. No, I'm in my pajamas and it's like 7 a.m. in the morning. But I just brought out my cutting table to the living room. I'm watching some YouTube videos and I'm cutting out the main fabric, the facing pieces and the interfacing. I still am working on that video for these pattern weights, so I will post that soon. But I am using a linen look rayon linen blend from Joann's, which is pretty inexpensive if you get it with a coupon. And I figured, well, I already had it, so that's the main reason why I'm using it. I have this interfacing, it's lightweight, it's what's recommended in the pattern. But yeah, I just cut that out. And shortly you will see me ironing the interfacing to the facing pieces. Now, I have never really lined a garment like this. Normally when I line a garment, I just kind of butt them together and then flip one side to the inside and then understitch, but this actually has facings that are interfaced that you stitch the lining to, so it kind of creates like, I guess it's a more professional look. I don't know the reasoning behind the reason that they did it that way. I actually don't love the way they line this pattern. Honestly, I think the interfacing, as you'll see later, kind of makes the neckline stick away from my chest, and I don't know if that's just because of the way that my bust is shaped or that it's just a problem everybody has, but I don't think it worked that well for me. You're gonna go ahead and stay stitch all your necklines and curved pieces so that they don't warp when you try to stick everything together again, because then it won't work and that would be so sad. So just take your time, stitch within your seam allowance so you don't have to pick it out later. It always makes the most sense for me. And then the next step that we're going to do is to add the darts, and darts are super easy. A little tip that I can give you is that you always tie the point of a dart. You never backstitch it, or you can get some weird nipple action happening, which sounds like a good time, but it never is. So then we are going to start sewing the facing pieces to the front garment bodice, and it's pretty easy. You just sew, and this is going to be wrong sides together, and then you're going to fold it out and then press it. I'm a dum-dum, and when you see me press it, you're going to see that I pressed it out and then I folded it back in like I was finishing the garment with facings only, but that's not what the pattern wants you to do, and it took me a while to figure that out. So if you're looking at the illustrations and you're like, oh, I fold it back in again, you don't. Make sure you trim your edges, or trim your seam allowance, and clip your corners too. But see, I'm pressing it in. Don't do that. Just press it out. It'll make your life so much easier. Because I was like, oh, that looks gorgeous, pretty awesome. No, that's not what they want you to do. So once you get your facings on your front bodice piece and your back bodice piece, you are going to stitch them together at the shoulder seams. Make sure your facings are turned out. I also didn't understand this and did it like 2 times before I was like, wow, that's completely wrong. And then you're going to trim and press everything once everything is stitched together. And then you are going to stitch your facing to the neckline wrong sides together. So you're going to stitch the edge of the facing neckline to the edge of the actual facings. It took me a while to figure this out. Again, I don't know if it's because my coffee hadn't kicked in yet or what, but it doesn't make the most sense in the illustrations, I think. But trim everything again, and this one you are going to want to press in. I'm trimming some bulk off the V-neck, which I also found kind of hard to make lay correctly, but I'm using a ham, I'm using lots of steam, and then that's not going to matter anyways because it sticks away from my chest. Okay, so this is the burrito method. You kind of fold everything and then you roll it up so that you can stitch the outside armhole together. And I'll show it to you again because I know that was pretty quick. But you want to roll it all up so that you're not catching anything, but it's kind of inside out. There's no way to do this really other than this. So you keep everything in this little burrito and then you stitch it, but then you can pull it out again. There's lots of videos online for this, but I will show you again one more time just so you can see kind of what's going on. And just be careful you're not catching that roll. Getting all the way to the end. There you go, back stitch. And then you see, you just kind of pull it right side out and nothing is tangled and nothing is caught, and that's how it looks with the facings. I will say it looks pretty, I just don't think it's worth the extra effort for me. And you can kind of see, here I am, rolling everything back in. And again, wrong sides together. And you just stitch again to the facing. You're not stitching it to the bodice, you're stitching it to the facing, lining to facing. I don't know how many times I had to do it before that like clicked in my brain that that's what they meant. Probably because the illustrations in the pattern are just like not super, I don't know, they don't show me what I need to do in my brain. So here I am, hopefully this helps to show you how to do it. Now I know that this pattern called for even heavier fabrics than the one I used, and you'll see the issue I had and why I don't know if that's necessarily gonna work well. And I've noticed some gaping on other people as well. But I really took my time, I really made sure stuff was pressed. Again, with this lining technique, it's not my favorite. And spoiler alert, I tried this on after the step and I decided not to add the pockets because adding the pockets and the lining was going to be this whole thing and I wasn't even sure I was going to like it, so I just decided to forego them. But I'm sewing the darts in the skirt, and unlike what the pattern says, I'm not going to sew the skirt on in the round. I'm going to sew the skirt on flat, and then I'm going to do the side seams up for everything because I find that that just works so much better for me, making sure that everything is matched up with one long seam versus trying to do it in the round and like stuff not being exact. It always is an issue for me. I wish more patterns tell me not to do it in the round. But you sew the back and front skirt pieces on first, and then you make sure it's nice and pressed, and then you repeat it for the lining. Again, I was already ready to give up on this project at this point, so I'm not taking my time in finishing the seams or anything like that. Honestly, I don't know if I will really ever wear it, which is sad because I spent so much time on it already. But then you're going to sew the back waistline seam for the bodice and the skirt, and then the front one, so that you kind of just have 4 skirt pieces, 2 front, 2 back, just kind of hanging, and none of the side seams are done up yet. Then you place the lining skirt front and back together and the main fabric front and back together, and it'll make this long tube, and you just stitch up both sides, and then when you turn the facing back around, it creates the garment and you don't have to worry about sewing anything in the round.
I don't like it.
So obviously I would wear a top underneath, but the interfacing is causing some serious gaping. And it doesn't look good because I picked a fun, it doesn't look good. I don't mind the overall shape. Let me see if I can get this in. I haven't hemmed it yet. I mean, it fits. There's just, I think interfacing is like the wrong choice right here. And I just followed the pattern. I didn't make any alterations besides leaving out the pockets because I tried it on and I didn't like it and I didn't want to do the extra work. I think maybe I could make it a lace up to like here and it would lay flatter. I don't know, we could slap some grommets in it, give it a try, but like I wouldn't wear it like when it does that. No. Don't love it, kind of mad because I thought I was gonna love it. But yeah, let's try to kind of fix this situation. So I'm in luck because I have a ton of grommets because I do costuming and like run fair stuff. I'm just using an awl to poke a hole for my grommet. They're little grommets, and then I'm going to use my grommet pliers to get the grommet sealed up and on there. I will say the hardest part of this whole thing is making sure the awl hole is big enough. And then I just kind of eyeballed it. Again, I'm over this project at this point, and I don't even really like it that much, so I'm just trying to save it for the sake of seeing if I can save it. I do like how the grommets look though. So I think that did fix it for me. Do I leave it untied or do I tie it in a bow? I think I'm tied. I don't love the way that this pattern turned out on me. I'm not super pleased with it. The instructions weren't that great. The pattern doesn't fit me that great. And as you can see in the photos, it just is kind of a shapeless sack that I am just like not into. The lining issue was weird. The interfacing didn't work well for me. It's not the worst thing I've ever sewn, but it's definitely not my favorite.
Thank you so much for joining me on this new YouTube adventure. I can't believe there's almost 200 of you subscribers. I never thought that anybody would want to watch anything that I did for fun. So the fact that you guys love this is really awesome. It's really important to me. If you're looking for a way to support this channel, like, comment, subscribe, just interact with me. If you want to go above and beyond and you have the means to do so, I do have a Patreon channel and I'd love to have you there. I'm thinking about setting up a coffee account, which is kind of like less of a commitment than the Patreon channel, but I have lots of fun stuff planned here shortly. I want to get back into my 18th century costuming, and I know that that might be too niche, but let me know if you want to see that. I am, as a 30-year-old woman, going to be attending a LARP this March, so if you want to see anything that I'm doing to prepare for LARPing, I would love to have you guys join me on that journey. And by the way, LARP is live action roleplay, so it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons but in real life and at campgrounds and outside, so it's super nerdy and I am super into it. It's really just another excuse to get to sew things that I couldn't necessarily wear in my everyday life. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting me and watching this and having a blast with me, and I hope to have you guys around more. And I am definitely trying to post at least once a week, so definitely hit the bell. I don't know, it's somewhere around here, the bell to subscribe or to get notifications of my subscriptions. I don't know how YouTube works, but thank you guys so much. All right,